Looking at the list of films I've watched this past year, I notice it's been much shorter than previous years. In fact, it's been going on a steady decline these last few years, and I don't think it's just because COVID made it harder to go to theaters. As sad as it is to admit for a film buff, something else has been slowly replacing it. TV shows. TV shows are starting to replace movies as the go-to form of entertainment for many. Viewers prefer their longer overall runtime and episodic structure, somehow making 6 hours of a TV show easier to watch than a 2-hour movie. And creators prefer creating TV shows as they have more creative control over them. This control over the product is something that is lacking in the self-imploding film industry packed with sequels, reboots, and superhero film releases. Dustin Hoffman said it best in 2015, that right now, television is the best that it's ever been, and it's the worst that film has ever been. 7 years later, and it seems he's even more right as television continues its stride in its longest golden age yet. Now, I'm not saying that one form of media is better than the other, as there is room for both. In fact, I do believe movies are still dominating the industry, especially around the world, but their level of dominance has been on a steady decline. It's a difficult journey for movies to return to their glory days, but they did come out on top once before after a previous TV golden age. So why would it be more difficult this time? The first golden age of TV occurred between 1947 to 1960. With the most notable shows being I Love Lucy and The Twilight Zone. Television sets were becoming a common household items, and TV shows were innovating and adapting to their growing audiences. Unfortunately, the golden age ended due to audiences getting older and broadcasting companies becoming too involved, reducing the majority of TV shows to news and Hollywood stories. During this golden age, viewers had less of a reason to leave their homes and go to theaters for entertainment. To counter this, film technology was pushed further to make new films must-watch in theaters experiences by using better Technicolor, new camera techniques, and even 3D that I was surprised to hear was popular in the mid-50s. They succeeded and continued this must-see in theaters mindset way past the TV golden age, where we saw blockbusters dominate in the 80s. The second golden age of TV started in 1999 with The Sopranos, and we are still in it to this day. Just look at all of these shows. Over the past 2 decades, they were the best that TV has ever offered. TV shows are becoming diverse again. Creativity is at an all-time high and budgets are starting to match that of films. And over the years, we began seeing popular film directors, writers, and actors hop onto TV shows. Yet again, they were giving audiences less of a reason to leave their house for entertainment. People began spending big on home entertainment systems, almost matching the experience you'd get in theaters. On top of all of this, we entered the era of TV streaming wars, where all these streaming services are competing with each other to provide the best and most convenient way to watch shows and movies at home. But these services have been prioritizing their TV series the most. So now the question is, can movies and theaters do it again and bring audiences back? I don't think so, since we've gotten so used to the convenience of watching our entertainment at home. It's gotten to the point where a movie really needs to be a must-see in theaters experience to reel audiences back in. It's hard to predict the future, but there just doesn't seem to be much innovation left for film that would give it the edge this time. Any new camera techniques and color would just carry over to the at-home experience as well. And it's even more difficult for movies to get ahead when a lot of the creative minds have moved onto TV. The only real option movies have is doubling down on CGI and action. We see this working right now with Avatar 2, where many are going to theaters for the spectacle alone. We saw the same thing with the massively successful Top Gun, which was definitely a must-see in theater experience. But this doubling down is causing too many reboots, sequels, and superhero movies to be released, which ends up harming the industry more than it helps. Something we'll go over more a bit later. In the end, it's the viewers that are choosing to watch one over the other. So how is user preference changing to cause this shift? There are 2 reasons viewers are preferring the format of TV shows over that of movies: the total length and their episodic nature. A longer runtime allows for more character growth, more room to adapt and change themes, and space for experimentation. But most importantly, the longer runtime gives audiences more of a reason to be invested. This is one of the reasons why people have a harder time watching a 2-hour movie than 6 hours of a show. They aren't invested enough in the movie since it will end quickly. The idea of committing to a movie's plot just to leave it forever 2 to 3 hours later gives viewers less of an incentive to commit to it in the first place. But the argument for movies is that the barrier for entry is actually lower, as you'll get a complete story within a short period of time. These are quite the opposite views, so it will differ from person to person. But one thing for sure is that overall, people are preferring longer runtimes. We've even seen this in films, where over the past few decades, movies have gotten longer and longer on average. The episodic nature of TV shows also gives viewers the choice of how much they want to watch. In their minds, they don't have time to watch a movie, but they would gladly opt in for a bite-sized form of entertainment with a 20-minute to 1-hour episode. This also makes a show a reliable and frequent source of entertainment. You know what you're getting into when turning on another episode, and you know you'll enjoy it. While with a movie, you're often taking a gamble and might end up disappointed by wasting the time watching it. TV shows being split into smaller portions also benefit the dopamine-driven culture that has been on the rise. Instant gratification has become a top priority for many, and shorter forms of media are excelling due to this factor. A TV series also gives viewers more time to digest what they've seen between episodes, especially if they're released weekly. It gives a chance to discuss with friends or on online forums what happened and what will happen, whereas movies are very limited in their discussion potential. These episode releases can also become huge weekly events like we saw with the end of Breaking Bad or most of Game of Thrones. But this in-the-moment hype might actually shroud the true impact of TV shows in the long run. But it's not just the viewers that prefer TV shows more and more. It's becoming more common for creators as well. We're seeing Steven Soderbergh, Martin Scorsese, David Lynch, Spike Lee, David Fincher, and all these other world-class directors taking a shot at directing TV series. It's crazy seeing this when movies are known as the director's medium, where they have the most control, while TV is the writers' and producers' medium. So it's fair to assume the jump to TV for writers and producers is even greater given how much more control they have over their creations. The longer runtimes also give these creators more possibilities in storytelling and the time to find an audience. And although we keep mentioning the preference of TV shows over movies, more often than not, TV shows are the only medium they can tell their stories with. We think it's pretty clear the film industry is run by one thing: money. And this economic approach to film has led certain categories, types, and budget ranges of films being greenlit more often than others. We've got the low-budget indie films hovering under $20 million, and then the high-budget blockbusters, usually from well-known properties like superhero films and sequels at $100 million plus budgets. It's rare you see those $40 to $60 million movies anymore. Gone are the higher-budget character-oriented films we used to see in previous decades, like all of these. And these were just from the 90s. And this is exactly where TV came in to pick up the slack and fill that void in storytelling that film has abandoned. The creativity and risks that lead to the films shown before have been completely alienated from modern studios, where they'll go for the easiest and safest profit instead. Films are seeing an increase in studio intervention that has creators fleeing to TV. We just mentioned that movies are more of a director's medium, but it's looking more and more like the studio's medium. The film industry has grown stagnant and repetitive from this greed. And yes, the TV industry is also run by money, but due to the differences between how TV shows and movies make money, films suffer more. When you look at the highest box office films these days, it's superhero movies, sequels, reboots, and animated films. Quite different from, say, 1997, where 26 of the 30 highest box office grossing films were original films. And there's a reason for this. A regular movie makes the most money during its theater run. They used to also make a lot in DVD sales, but ever since streaming became big, these figures have reduced drastically, fueling the repetitive releases further. Therefore, if movies earn the bulk of their profit when audiences go to buy tickets, the studios need to get audiences into theaters. This can be done through trailers and familiar faces, but the biggest factor of what brings people to watch a film is the film itself on the surface level: the title and the property. Sure, making a great movie can pay off with praise spreading through word of mouth, like we saw with Top Gun Maverick recently, but this doesn't always work. It's the IP that sells it. Now with TV, it's different. TV shows generate money by keeping audiences entertained and hooked on watching new episodes. And this works for both TV networks and streaming services. The goal is to get viewers to come back for the next episode. Streaming services are at a war with each other because audiences are only willing to subscribe to one or two of them. So to keep audiences interested in coming back, they must maintain a certain level of quality as well as come up with new original ideas that will entice the viewer to stay committed. With longer runtimes and an easier exit point, creators have to work even harder for this commitment. But by not being economically judged on a surface level, TV shows are given more flexibility in their storytelling as long as the quality is there. This explains why TV shows are a lot more refreshing than films these days. They also have less rating restrictions, as they have an easier time finding a target audience with all the different networks targeting different age groups. Movie studios have optimized their risk-profit curve to almost never make high-budget R-rated films anymore. And this alone cuts out many of the stories that could be told. But don't worry, we're nowhere near the end of movies. This video might have sounded like we were trashing movies a lot, but we still very much prefer them here at FilmStack. There are many more great films out there than there are shows, and we don't feel TV has reached the highs that film has. They both can and will coexist, but how well each one does will depend on the other. So what do you guys prefer to watch? TV shows or movies? Do you have different opinions than the ones we had in this video? Comment them below. If you found this video interesting, make sure to subscribe, and until next time, have a good one.